In the depths of space, far beyond the reaches of Earth, the galaxy's most powerful council gathered in their vast citadel. It floated silently in the heart of a star system, its structure made of strange, shimmering metals that glowed with an otherworldly light. This council was formed by the most advanced and dominant alien races, creatures that had ruled the stars for centuries, bending entire civilizations to their will. They had learned to manipulate and control the galaxy through their technology and cunning. Nothing had ever stood in their way. The council's most powerful leaders sat in a circle, their attention focused on the screens in front of them. They were discussing the newest reports, recent disturbances in the outer rim of the galaxy, strange signals, and some unexplained movements. But there was one message that caught their attention. A single human ship, a battleship from Earth, had entered their space. At first, it seemed insignificant. Earth was a forgotten world, isolated from the rest of the galaxy for centuries. It was a planet known for its primitive technology and small, inconsequential population. The thought that a human ship could pose any real threat was laughable. It was far too small, far too weak to even be noticed by the mighty council. They had dealt with far more dangerous species, far more advanced civilizations, and crushed them without a second thought. But the message from their scouts made the leaders pause. The ship was heading directly toward the council's space, its speed faster than anything the council expected from Earth. The sensors on the ship were reading as more advanced than anything they had seen from a human vessel. The council leaders exchanged uneasy glances. "Impossible," one of the council members said, shaking his head. "The humans, they are nothing. This is a mistake. They must be lost." But another member, Selrith, the council's top strategist, stood up from his seat. "No, I've studied the data. The ship is heading here with purpose. This is no mistake." The others frowned. "Then what do we do?" another leader asked. "We wait," Zelrith replied. "Let's see what they want. It's probably nothing. A threat from a primitive race would be laughable." As the minutes passed, the council's uneasy silence grew. Zelrith's words echoed in their minds. Could Earth have somehow developed technology beyond what they had imagined? Could this ship actually pose a danger to them? They dismissed it at first, but the more they thought about it, the more uneasy they became. The humans, a species they had long thought of as weak, might actually be hiding something far greater, something they hadn't accounted for. The council, for the first time in many years, felt a flicker of something unfamiliar. Fear. As Earth's battleship approached the council's space, it became an undeniable presence. The ship was massive, far larger than any human vessel had ever been before. Its sleek design was unlike anything the council had seen from Earth's past. There were no signs of weakness, no outdated technology. The ship had been built to command respect, and it did just that. Even in the vast emptiness of space, it stood tall and unyielding. Captain Nathaniel Ward stood on the bridge of the ship, his eyes locked on the view screen in front of him. His fingers lightly rested on the command console, his mind focused, calculating. Ward was a man of few words, but when he spoke, people listened. He was the leader of this crew, and everyone on board knew that. Earth had sent him on this mission for one reason: to show the galaxy that humanity was no longer the forgotten, weak species it once was. He was ready for whatever came next. The ship's hull was reinforced with advanced materials, something the council had never expected to see from Earth. Inside, the crew worked in perfect synchronization, operating the most advanced systems they had ever developed. Every inch of the ship had been designed for one purpose: to make a statement. The crew members were all handpicked for their skills, their determination, and their loyalty to Earth. This was humanity's first real step into the greater galaxy, and they weren't about to let anyone underestimate them. As the battleship glided through space, the crew could feel the weight of the moment. No one had ever dared to come this far into the council's territory. The humans had always been isolated, their technology rudimentary compared to the advanced alien civilizations around them. But not anymore. Approaching the council's space, Lieutenant Ramirez called out from the communication station. "We're almost there." Ward nodded, his face set in determination. "Open a channel. Let them know we're here." Moments later, the ship's massive communications array activated, sending a message across the galaxy. The screen in front of Ward lit up with the image of an alien official, one of the Council's representatives. The alien looked calm, yet there was a noticeable shift in its demeanor as it scanned the ship on its sensors. "This is Commander Zoleth of the Galactic Council," the alien said, its voice steady but with an edge of uncertainty. "What is the meaning of this intrusion?" Ward's eyes narrowed, his voice clear and direct. "We're here to show you that Earth is no longer a weak, isolated planet. We've come to prove that we belong among the stars." The alien's expression remained unreadable, but Ward could sense the unease behind its calm facade. The Council had no idea what they were dealing with. The Earth battleship wasn't just a ship. It was a symbol of humanity's resilience, its ingenuity, and its unshakable determination. Ward wasn't just representing Earth. He was representing all of humanity, and he knew that their future in the galaxy depended on how the Council responded. "You may have your technology," Ward continued, "but we have something you've never encountered before. Humans don't negotiate. We dominate." For a brief moment, the Council official fell silent, as if processing Ward's words. Ward could see the hint of fear in the alien's eyes. As the message ended, the screen flickered and went dark. The Council representative, Commander Zoleth, was silent for a long moment, his thoughts racing. He had expected an ordinary human ship, one that would fold under the overwhelming power of the Council. Instead, he was faced with something far more dangerous: humanity itself. Zoleth glanced nervously at his fellow Council members. The room, once filled with confidence, was now filled with doubt. The Council had controlled the galaxy for millennia. But this Earth ship was unlike anything they had anticipated. Their technology might be advanced, but it wasn't enough to dismiss the message sent by Captain Ward. "Are we certain this is a human ship?" asked one of the Council members, his voice tinged with uncertainty. Zoleth nodded slowly. "It's human, all right, but this ship is not what we expected. We need to act carefully. Their captain is not here to negotiate." He said it plainly. Back on Earth's battleship, Captain Ward stood firm on the bridge, his eyes never leaving the view screen. The calm and collected nature of the Council's reply didn't fool him. He had prepared for this moment, and he knew exactly how to handle it. The Council could not comprehend the new power Earth had developed, and Ward was determined to make them understand. "Open a direct channel to their leadership," Ward ordered. "Understood, Captain," said Lieutenant Ramirez, tapping a few buttons. The channel blinked to life, and the screen came alive again with the image of the Council's ship, vast and full of imposing power. But this time, it wasn't just a display of their might. The Council's pride was starting to crack. Commander Zoleth's image appeared again, his alien face slightly more rigid than before. "Captain Ward, you speak of domination, but you must understand. Our fleets are numerous, our technology unmatched. You would be foolish to challenge us." Ward's gaze was unwavering. He wasn't here to argue. He wasn't here to back down. "I don't think you understand. Humans don't back down. We faced far worse than you, and we survived. We will always survive. You can either recognize that now, or you can test it." Zoleth's eyes narrowed, and the tension in the air thickened. The Council had always been unchallenged, their rule stretching across galaxies, their fleets striking fear into even the most advanced civilizations. But now, for the first time, a human leader was challenging them, without fear, without hesitation. Zoleth's voice wavered just slightly as he spoke. "You speak of survival, Captain Ward, but you underestimate the power we possess. You will regret this." Ward's lips curled into a faint smile. "I don't think you'll be the one regretting anything." As the screen went black again, Ward turned to his crew. "Prepare for possible confrontation. If they come at us, we'll be ready." The crew nodded in unison, their eyes full of determination. They were ready, for humanity, for Earth, and for the future of the galaxy. But deep in the Council's citadel, Commander Zoleth's mind was racing. Could humanity truly be as powerful as their words? The fear he had felt earlier lingered, and for the first time in his life, he questioned the certainty of the Council's reign. The silence in the Council's meeting room stretched on as the message from Captain Ward lingered in their minds. The Council leaders exchanged uneasy glances. Zoleth, who had once stood firm in his belief that the Council's technology could crush any threat, now felt the weight of doubt. The humans were not what they had assumed. They were far more dangerous. "Shall we retaliate?" one of the Council members asked, their voice sharp with concern. Zoleth shook his head. "No, we must first test their power. We cannot afford to underestimate them again." The Council had never been in this position before. No civilization had ever dared to stand up to them with such defiance. And now, Earth's battleship was waiting in the void of space, poised to strike at a moment's notice. Zoleth knew they had to find out what this human ship was truly capable of before making their next move. On the bridge of Earth's battleship, Captain Ward stood confidently, watching the stars pass by in the distance. He knew the Council would try something. He had expected it. But what they didn't know was that he had anticipated their every move. He was ready. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission," Lieutenant Ramirez announced, her voice steady but tense. Ward's eyes narrowed. "Put it through." The screen flickered to life, and the image of Commander Zoleth appeared once again. The alien's expression was colder than before, but Ward could sense the unease that still lingered beneath the surface. "We will test your ship's power, Captain Ward," Zoleth declared. "You may have weapons, but we will see if you can handle the full might of the Council. If you survive this, we will consider your words more seriously." Ward didn't flinch. "Test away. You'll learn that humans don't back down from any challenge." With that, the screen went dark, and Ward turned to his crew. "Prepare the weapons. I want our shields at full strength, and I want a display of our power ready to go. Let them test us." The crew sprang into action, each person moving with precision. The ship's massive cannons hummed with power, and the shields that protected it flickered to life, glowing with energy. Ward knew this was more than a simple test. It was a challenge. The Council wanted to see if the humans could handle their might, but Ward had no intention of showing weakness. In the Council's citadel, Zoleth stood with his arms crossed, watching the Earth battleship on his screen. A fleet of Council ships had been dispatched to test the human ship's power, and Zoleth could already see the results. The Council ships were formidable, larger, faster, and more advanced in many ways. But as the ships closed in on the Earth battleship, Zoleth could feel the tension in the air. What if they had underestimated these humans? The first shot came without warning. A beam of energy erupted from the Earth battleship's cannons, streaking across space like a comet. It collided with one of the Council ships, and in an instant, the ship was destroyed. The explosion was so powerful that it sent shockwaves through the surrounding ships. Zoleth's eyes widened in disbelief. The humans hadn't just fired. They had destroyed one of their largest ships in a single shot. "We can't afford to hesitate anymore," Zoleth muttered. The Council had made a grave mistake. They had underestimated the humans, and now they were paying the price. The destruction of one of their largest ships sent ripples of panic through the Council's ranks. For the first time in their long reign, the Council's leaders felt vulnerable. Their entire existence had been built on the belief that they controlled the galaxy, that no force could challenge them. Yet here was Earth, an insignificant planet in their eyes, shattering that illusion with a single devastating shot. Zoleth, the Council's top strategist, stood frozen in front of the view screen, staring at the remnants of the destroyed ship. He had expected the humans to be weak. He had expected them to crumble under the pressure of the Council's might. But what he saw now was far more terrifying. Earth's battleship wasn't just technologically advanced. It was ruthless, efficient, and unpredictable. Report. Zoloth barked, turning to one of his officers. The officer's hands trembled as they tapped a few commands on the console. The human ship. It's powerful. The blast. It was unlike anything we've seen before. The Council ship was destroyed instantly. Our shields didn't even have time to activate. Zoloth's mind raced. He had studied tactics for years, analyzing the weaknesses of countless species. But this was different. The humans had something he didn't fully understand, something they hadn't shown the galaxy before. How did they do this? One of the council members asked, his voice shaking. How did a human ship manage to destroy one of our fleets with a single shot? Zoloth clenched his fists. This is no ordinary human technology. They have something we haven't seen before, something that gives them an edge. We must be cautious. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth battleship, Captain Ward stood on the bridge, his eyes fixed on the view screen as the chaos unfolded around them. The Council's fleet, though massive, was starting to retreat. Ward had known they wouldn't take the destruction of one of their ships lightly, but he also knew they couldn't back down now. The moment to show humanity's strength had come. Target the remaining ships, Ward ordered. Let's make sure they understand exactly what we're capable of. His crew moved swiftly, their every action a display of coordination and skill. The human battleship's weapon systems were primed, and the ship's crew was ready for whatever came next. Ward's voice was calm, but his eyes burned with determination. This was humanity's moment to prove that they were not a race to be ignored. They were a force to be reckoned with. Outside, the remaining council ships tried to regroup, but their attempts to retaliate were clumsy at best. Earth's battleship had demonstrated a power that the council had never anticipated. The fear in the eyes of the council's leaders was palpable. Their arrogance, once unshakable, was beginning to crack. The realization hit Zoloth hard. This was no longer just a test. The humans had challenged the council and succeeded. They had shown that their technology was not only on par with the council's, it was superior in ways the council had not yet understood. Zoloth turned to the other council members. We underestimated them. The humans are not just a threat. They are a new power in the galaxy. We must rethink our entire strategy. As the council ships continued to retreat, Zoloth's voice trembled for the first time. Humanity has changed the game. And now we must decide how to face them. The council's citadel, once a place of absolute power and control, now felt like a prison. The walls seemed to close in on the alien leaders as they sat in a tense silence. The weight of their decisions hung heavy in the air. Humanity, a species they had long written off as insignificant, had just delivered a message they couldn't ignore. Commander Zoloth paced back and forth in front of the council members, his mind a whirlwind of thoughts. They had never been in this situation before. They had faced war, betrayal, and threats from countless civilizations, but none had ever challenged them with the sheer force that humanity had shown. We cannot simply dismiss them, Zoloth said, his voice low but filled with urgency. Captain Ward's words were not just a threat. They are a warning. If we continue to underestimate humanity, we may not have a galaxy left to rule. The council members exchanged uneasy glances. They had been accustomed to their power, to the knowledge that no force in the universe could stand against them. But the destruction of one of their largest ships by a human vessel had shaken that belief to its core. Do we negotiate? One of the council members asked hesitantly. Zoloth shook his head. We cannot. Not now. They have shown us their strength, and Captain Ward has made it clear that there is no room for negotiation. If we back down, we lose all credibility. If we engage them now, we risk everything. The room fell into a heavy silence. The council had always been the unquestioned rulers of the galaxy. Their fleets had crushed any rebellion, any threat, with ruthless efficiency. But now, humanity was different. They had shown courage, ingenuity, and most terrifying of all, the will to stand against a power much greater than their own. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth battleship, Captain Ward stood in front of a massive view screen, watching the movements of the remaining council ships. The space around them was eerily quiet. The council had retreated, but Ward knew this was far from over. The council wouldn't just let this go. They would come back, and they would come back angry. Ward turned to his crew. "Prepare for the next move," he said. "The council will be back, but we'll be ready." He knew that Earth's message had been received loud and clear. The council now understood that humanity wasn't just a minor player in the galaxy. They were a force to be reckoned with. But Ward also knew that the council would not take their defeat lightly. This was only the beginning. Minutes later, a transmission from the council appeared on the screen. Zoleth's face was stern, his eyes narrowed with both anger and something else. Fear. He spoke with authority, but there was a hint of desperation in his voice. "We acknowledge your power, Captain Ward," Zoleth began, "but you must understand that we cannot allow this insult to stand. We demand that you withdraw from our space immediately. If you do not, we will take action." Ward stood tall as he listened to the alien's ultimatum. He had known this was coming. The council wasn't going to roll over so easily, and they had nothing left to lose. But Ward wasn't afraid. "We will not back down," Ward replied calmly. "Humanity doesn't negotiate. We dominate, and if you try to stop us, you will regret it." The transmission ended abruptly. For a brief moment, the entire ship was silent. Ward's words had been clear, and they had been heard. The council had issued their ultimatum, and humanity had responded with the one thing they had learned to rely on in the face of overwhelming odds: their unyielding determination. The council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as the alien leaders gathered around their command table. Their once unshakable confidence was now replaced with uncertainty. The human message was clear, and it had shaken them to their core. Captain Ward's refusal to negotiate had set the stage for something they had never anticipated: a challenge to their very rule of the galaxy. Commander Zoleth stood at the head of the table, his hands clasped tightly behind his back. His mind raced as he considered their options. They had never faced an enemy quite like humanity. The humans had shown an incredible amount of power, and Zoleth knew they couldn't afford to make another mistake. "We cannot simply walk away from this," Zoleth said, his voice heavy with the weight of his decision. "We've already shown weakness by retreating. If we allow this human vessel to remain in our space, it will embolden every other species. We will lose all authority." A murmur of agreement passed through the room. The council's power had always been unquestioned, and their fleets had decimated anyone who dared to defy them. But now, they faced a species that had not only stood up to them, but had done so with overwhelming force. "We cannot allow them to dictate the future of the galaxy," another council member, Zoreth, declared. "We must make an example of them. Show the universe that defying the council comes with consequences." Zoleth nodded, his gaze fixed on the view screen that showed the Earth battleship in the distance. The ship was still hovering on the edge of their territory, waiting for the council's next move. The human captain had made it clear that Earth was not going to back down. They had already shown the council that they were ready to fight, and Zoleth knew they had to respond in kind. "Prepare the fleet," Zoleth ordered. "We'll make one final move. The humans must learn that we are not to be challenged." The other council members began to move quickly, their orders sent out to their fleet commanders. Zoleth knew the council had the resources to overwhelm the Earth ship, but this time they would not take anything for granted. The humans had already proven themselves capable of destruction, and Zoleth wasn't about to underestimate them again. Meanwhile, aboard Earth's battleship, Captain Ward stood in front of his crew, his expression calm but resolute. He knew that the council wouldn't give up easily. They had already proven their willingness to fight, and now they would likely bring their full force to bear. But Ward was ready. He had come too far to back down now. "Prepare for combat," Ward said. "We're about to face everything they've got. But we don't retreat. We don't negotiate. We dominate." The crew moved into action, their focus unwavering. They had trained for this moment. humanity's first true test against the might of the galaxy's most powerful force. And now, it was time to prove that Earth was no longer a weak, isolated planet. They had come to stay. As the Council fleet began to assemble, Zolaf felt a strange sense of doubt creep into his mind. Would they be able to crush the human ship, or was this the beginning of the end for their long reign? Zolaf turned to face his officers. We may face the greatest battle of our lives. Prepare yourselves for what's to come. In that moment, the Council's certainty faltered, and a quiet fear gripped them. They were about to face humanity's wrath, and they knew it. The galaxy had never seen a battle like this. Earth's battleship, a symbol of humanity's strength and resolve, stood alone in the vast expanse of space, facing down the full might of the Council's fleet. The cold silence of space was now filled with the hum of weapons systems powering up, the quiet before the storm. On the bridge of Earth's battleship, Captain Ward stood at the center, his eyes scanning the view screen. The Council's fleet had arrived. It was enormous, dozens of ships, each one far larger and more powerful than any ship Earth had ever built. But Ward didn't flinch. He had no intention of backing down. He had one job now: to show the galaxy that humanity was no longer a species to be ignored. Lock all weapons systems, Ward ordered, his voice steady. Target the largest ships first. We won't give them a chance to regroup. His crew moved quickly, efficiently, preparing for the fight that would decide the future of Earth. The tension on the bridge was thick, but everyone knew their role. The humans might be outnumbered, but they weren't afraid. Lieutenant Ramirez, standing at the communications station, looked up. "Captain, we're receiving a message from the Council. They're warning us again to leave their space." Ward didn't take his eyes off the view screen. "Tell them we're not leaving. And if they want to fight, they got one." As the message ended, the battle began. The Council fleet opened fire first, unleashing a barrage of energy blasts toward Earth's battleship. The sky lit up with the brilliance of the attack, but Earth's ship was ready. Its shields flared to life, absorbing the blasts with minimal damage. The humans had prepared for this moment, and their technology, though still new, was already proving more than a match for the Council's firepower. Ward's voice rang out across the bridge. "Return fire. Full power to the forward cannons." Earth's battleship retaliated. The first shot hit one of the Council's ships dead center, ripping through its shields and tearing apart its hull. The explosion was massive, sending debris scattering across space. The remaining Council ships hesitated for a moment, shocked by the ferocity of the human response. "Good shot, Captain," shouted one of the crew members. But Ward didn't celebrate. The battle was far from over. He knew that the Council would come at them with everything they had. They had already lost one ship, but their pride wouldn't allow them to back down. The Council's fleet regrouped quickly, and another wave of fire rained down on Earth's ship. This time, Ward wasn't caught off guard. He had anticipated their movements and ordered evasive maneuvers. The Earth battleship dodged and weaved through the barrage, its speed and agility outmatching the Council's heavier, slower ships. "Captain," Ramirez called out urgently. "We've got incoming. It's their flagship. It's preparing a massive energy blast." Ward's eyes narrowed. The flagship was the heart of the Council's fleet. If they could destroy it, the rest of the Council's forces would fall apart. "Focus all fire on the flagship. Take it down." The battleship's weapons fired relentlessly, and with a massive explosion, the Council's flagship was torn apart, its energy core erupting in a blinding flash. The shockwave rippled through space, and the remaining Council ships faltered, their resolve cracking. "Victory is ours," Ward muttered under his breath. As the last of the Council's ships retreated, Earth's battleship remained steady in the vastness of space. Ward's expression was calm, but inside, he knew that humanity had just made history. They had stood up to the galaxy's most powerful force and won. The battle was over, but the silence that followed felt heavier than any explosion. The last of the Council's ships drifted into space, defeated and broken. Earth's battleship stood alone in the center of the battlefield, a symbol of humanity's newfound power. It was a strange feeling for Captain Ward and his crew. They had expected a fight, but what they had experienced was something far greater than they had imagined. Ward stood on the bridge, watching the remains of the Council's fleet disappear into the distance. The view screen showed the wreckage of the flagship, its enormous hull torn apart by the blast. The energy from that explosion still rippled through space, a testament to the strength of the human crew. "Captain," Lieutenant Ramirez said, her voice a mixture of awe and disbelief, "we did it. We actually did it." Ward didn't smile. He didn't feel victorious. At least not yet. There was still much to be done. "Stay focused," he replied. "We've made our mark. But the Council is not finished. They'll regroup, and they'll come at us again. We need to be ready." The crew nodded in agreement, but there was no denying that the atmosphere aboard the ship had shifted. The fear that had once hung over them was gone, replaced by something stronger: confidence. They had proven that humanity could stand on the same level as the galaxy's most powerful civilizations. But Ward was right. This wasn't over. The Council had been humiliated, and a humiliated enemy was often the most dangerous. Back in the Council's citadel, the mood was one of frustration and anger. The leaders of the Council gathered in a private room, their once proud faces now etched with fear and regret. They had never expected this. The humans had proven their strength, and now they had to decide how to handle the consequences. "We've underestimated them," Zoleth, the Council's top strategist, said quietly. "We were wrong to think we could crush them so easily." One of the Council members slammed a fist on the table. "We should have destroyed them while we had the chance." "We couldn't," Zoleth replied, his voice steady but filled with frustration. "The humans fought back harder than we imagined. They've changed the balance of power in this galaxy. We have no choice now but to acknowledge them." The Council fell silent. They had always been the ones in control, the ones who dictated the terms of peace and war. But now, for the first time, they were facing a force they couldn't easily overpower. "Do we surrender?" another Council member asked, his voice hesitant. Zolaf shook his head. "No, we will regroup, but we will not surrender. The humans have proven that they are not to be underestimated. But this is not over." Meanwhile, on Earth's battleship, Ward received a transmission from the Council. It was different this time. No longer filled with threats or demands, the message was subdued, almost respectful. "This is Commander Zoleth of the Galactic Council," the message began. "We acknowledge your strength and the power of your people. This is not the end, but we recognize that humanity has earned its place in the galaxy. We will no longer challenge you, but we do not seek friendship." Ward watched the message with a calm expression, knowing full well that the Council's words weren't a true surrender, but a temporary pause. But it was a start. "We've won," Ward said to his crew, his voice filled with quiet pride. "Humanity has shown the galaxy who we are, and they will never forget us." The galaxy was still. The vast expanse of space, once filled with the sounds of battles and the chaos of interstellar war, had fallen silent. Earth's battleship remained in the same spot where the final battle had taken place. The remnants of the Council's fleet floated in the distance, a broken reminder of their failed attempt to crush humanity. Captain Ward stood on the bridge, staring out at the quiet battlefield. The crew worked around him, but there was an air of disbelief that hung over them. They had won. Against all odds, humanity had fought the Council, defeated them, and emerged victorious. The reality of the situation still hadn't fully settled in. Ward turned to his crew. "I know this victory feels like a dream. But remember, this is only the beginning. The Council will regroup. There will be more challenges ahead. Our job isn't finished." Lieutenant Ramirez, her face lit up with pride, nodded. "But we've proven something today. Humanity isn't just another species to be ignored. We can fight. We can win." Ward smiled faintly. "That's true. But we have to keep that strength, that spirit, if we're going to survive in a galaxy full of enemies. The crew fell silent, each of them reflecting on the monumental shift that had just occurred. They had made history, but the real work was only starting. The galaxy had been thrown off balance, and humanity was now a player in a game far bigger than they had ever imagined. Meanwhile, back in the Council's citadel, the mood was grim. The leaders of the Council gathered once again, but this time, their faces were not filled with arrogance. They were humbled. Their fleets had been shattered, their pride wounded, and they had no choice but to acknowledge humanity's place in the galaxy. The humans, they've proven themselves, Zoleth said, his voice heavy with the weight of his words. We can't deny it. We underestimated them. They've shown us what they're capable of, and we have to prepare for what comes next. Another council member, a tall and imposing figure named Soreth, spoke up. We cannot let them think they've won. We've lost a battle, not the war. Humanity has only shown us one side of their strength. We must be ready for the future. Zoleth nodded. Yes, but we can't be blind to the reality. The humans are stronger than we thought, and they will keep growing. We must decide how to proceed with them. The council fell into a deep silence, each leader lost in thought. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy's balance of power was in question. The council, once unchallenged, now had to reckon with the fact that humanity had stepped onto the galactic stage, and they had done so with fire and determination. Back on Earth, the mood was different. Captain Ward stood on the bridge, looking out at the stars ahead. His crew had proven that humanity could stand tall among the stars, but he knew they couldn't grow complacent. The galaxy was full of dangers, and humanity's victory over the Council was just the beginning of a new chapter. Set course for Earth, Ward ordered. It's time to go home, but we've got a lot of work to do. The galaxy will never be the same again. As the battleship turned toward Earth, the crew knew that their victory was just the first step in a long journey. They had made their mark, and now, the galaxy would have to deal with the consequences. Humanity had proven its place among the stars, and this was just the beginning.